Welcome back, everyone, to the final episode of the first season of Navigating the Healing Path podcast. We are both so excited and in such a space of gratitude today to be talking about kindness and compassion. And my heart just feels like it's beaming for this. Just being able to have this space and to be able to express these deepest, truest parts of myself that I feel like I've never gotten the opportunity to express before in my life. And I'm so excited that we've gotten through a whole quote unquote first season. And I'm so looking forward to recording more in the near future, for anyone wondering. But yeah, here we are.
Let's go.
How you doing, Nikki?
Good. How about we take a moment before, because I'm like raring to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go. Let's talk about this. This is the bookend. This is the healing journey. These are the first steps. These are the foundations. So I'm like, let's tie it all up nicely with kindness and compassion and the healing journey. So, but first, let's take a moment and connect to the collective, to ourselves, to each other, through the breath and through our consciousness. So take a moment and tune into yourself and take a deep breath. Feel the expansion, bringing your consciousness down into your heart so that you can receive these words with love. Another one. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for being here. This healing journey has been a doozy, but it is one of the most rewarding paths of work I feel like that we can do here for ourselves and then ultimately each other. And I feel like a big proponent for this healing is because it creates more space for kindness, for compassion, for self-compassion. And that feels much better than suffering. Suffering in silence, suffering out loud. It's a lovely state of being to be in. You know, it's interesting. The thing that was coming that wants to be spoken is sometimes compassion and kindness is the outcome of healing. I had this class I was taking, I forget like where in my massage, or I think it was like my cranio certification, where we were doing, like writing about our business and who our target people are and like who we want to work with. And I forget, like we were having a dialogue with each other talking about stuff. And I had gone on this other tangent, and then I came back and I was, like working with myself a little bit. And the feedback I got from someone is, what I noticed about you, Nikki, is that you're really compassionate for yourself, for the things that you've gone through, or like how sometimes your mind acts up, or it does something to you, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, and then you just sort of love yourself for what was acting out, and then it gets put aside, and then you're back. And so to have the reflection of self-compassion be reflected back to me was really remarkable, because I'm like, oh, you noticed that? I've been working on it. Because I journal and I talk about my feelings, and my mind gets mad or gets guilty or shameful or whatever the thing is. and I get it out, and then I'm like, oh, you poor thing. You were really hurt, or that was really hard. But I understand where you're coming from, And so I've treated myself. That's been one of my coping mechanisms, is self-compassion. And so to have somebody see me do it live and then tell me that they saw it, I'm like, oh, that was amazing, which is why I love the idea of being seen and heard is really healing, So that was my little tangent that I wanted to share. Is it feels good, and it's nice when other people can recognize your work and like what you're doing and validate that that's what you're doing and that's how you're showing up. Because that's a lot of what all of this healing journey is about, is to retrain yourself, to reprogram yourself to show up in a way that's more integral and authentic to who you are. And so when other people can see that and validate it, it's very encouraging.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like that's something that you've offered me a lot, is that reassurance or that recognition and that validation that my internal dialogue has shifted or my actions have shifted. And it's really hard for us to see sometimes. And it's just funny how, with kindness and compassion, for a lot of us, I would say that how easy it is to give kindness and compassion to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But when the role is reversed and trying to give it to ourselves, it feels like such a difficult mountain to climb. So when someone actually comes in and reflects that back to you and shares their kindness and compassion with you as a reflection of your own compassion and just a reminder that, oh, maybe I have been kind to myself in these ways. That is always a reminder when I get that reflected back to me of, oh, you're right. I actually have been. Because my mind, and this is so funny that this is our final episode of season 1, but the first episode of this season was moving beyond the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And kindness and compassion definitely feels like the antidote in a lot of ways for a judgmental, lashing out mind that likes to turn on us in our own heads.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And that makes me think of, actually, I just read it. It's this week in The Artist's Way. Julia Cameron wrote about fear gets in the way of progress with your creative projects because you're either afraid of failure or you're afraid of success. Either way, it stops you. And the antidote to fear is compassion. And so I love that that you said that. I'm like, that's so funny. I literally just read that yesterday.
That's awesome.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I think would be interesting to look at, because I feel like both you and I, as humans, inherently, innately, at our core, are really kind people. We have a loving nature. We want to be of service and just help people feel good and give them gifts and love and all of that. But sometimes growing up here and just in this culture, kindness has been viewed as weakness or dangerous to be vulnerable. Or if you're too kind, you're likely to get taken advantage of.
Right. Or it's even seen as manipulation from other people.
Right, because you're acting kind, but that's actually not true kindness. That's a manipulation in general. But yeah, it can be hard to read people's true intentions with their kindness, and so you learn to be a little guarded. Like, all right, you're giving me this, but what do you really want? You must want something from me. That was one of the lessons I learned growing up.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was speaking from personal experience. I've had people that have been like, your kindness can't be real.
Oh, interesting. So they doubt your authentic kindness.
Yeah.
Because they were probably used to being manipulated with it. Because a lot of certain what do we call it? Conflicting personalities or combative personalities or
Oh,
just,
from the boundaries.
yeah. But like people
High
who
conflict
high
personality.
conflict. Thank you. I was in the neighborhood. Yes. um, but yeah, like it's a manipulation tactic.
Yeah.
Kindness is like the narcissist, the honey trap, the love bombing. And so we as empaths and really kind-natured people have been harmed a lot, and we didn't know who to trust, so we just shut it down, which is such a disservice to the whole world. Why does the whole world lose out on our gifts because a few people took advantage or hurt us? I just wish there was more protection for that kind of value.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good as like guideposts along the way, the more that you can embody the kindness, because it really does feel much better. It feels good to be kind. I like it.
It does feel really good. I feel like my soul can't really exist in another way. Everything else just doesn't feel genuine.
Mm.
Like not living in alignment with my heart, it causes disruption, like noticeable physical disruption in me if I'm not choosing that core of kindness within me, at least with working with other people. I let my brain and the monkey mind kind of go on much longer with meanness and towards myself than I do allow it to judge other people. But my body does always end up at that point where it's like, okay, let's come to center. Like it feels like the core of my being is kindness. And it just feels so much better to be aligned with that and to make decisions and actions and to choose words from a loving space.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah.
I much prefer to communicate and speak through my heart. But that has also taken conscious effort to shift that.
Oh,
to learn to live and speak through your heart.
Because of that lack of protection we had when we were first doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't received well.
No, we were also, when you're like these little codependents that just want to make everybody around you feel good for survival so that your needs can maybe be met.
Right.
But having a boundary around your kindness is also acceptable. Like, because to me that becomes like a discernment. Like I discern who around me will get this kindness, especially if there's openness, if it feels right. Because like I know when it's right to give because I feel amazing. Like when I'm giving to somebody who can fully receive and appreciate what it is that they're actually receiving, that's part of the payment is I feel good being of service. It's why we help other people. It's why it's a coping mechanism to get out of depression. When you're in the low places in the dark cave, sometimes being of service and helping others helps you raise your frequency and help bring up your energy so that you can move on, so that you can do your own work and get yourself out of that. So I think it's actually really healthy to have boundaries around the kindness about, just who we want to give to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely a major key in working towards living that life, that heart-based life. That's a very important stepping stone. So that way we can grow our discernment and to see when some people, not that they're not worthy of the kindness that we have, but like you said, there just might not be a space for them to receive it. Or if it's a dangerous situation or like a high conflict personality that can be prone to attacking, of course, leading with kindness is
compassion.
And compassion.
Oh. Ooh, uh-huh. Yep.
Oh, interesting segue. Let's talk about it.
The difference. What is the difference between kindness and compassion?
Love that.
Because there is a difference.
Yeah.
When you're in a situation with a high conflict personality, compassion is the tool, right? Kindness is an act, right? The act of service, the act of giving. Oh, you're going through this hard time. Can I bring you food? Can I clean your house? Can I fold your laundry for you while we catch up? That's kindness, thinking of others and acting upon it, right? But when you're in a situation where somebody is, let's just say, misbehaving or behaving in a manner that crosses your boundary or feels a little too manipulative, the antidote or the answer to that isn't necessarily more conflict, because that will just add the fuel to the fire and then everybody's burned. The compassion is having an understanding and being able to see where they're coming from, which is why you're neutral while you're holding space, so that you can see clearly and know what is yours and what is theirs. And then you can see it. You can see the programs that are running. You can see their pain. Now, you are not responsible for that pain. You are not responsible to help them feel better, unless they're being like, hey, can you, help me with this thing? And then that's a whole other thing. But the compassion, so that you don't get all riled up, right, and take it as yours or take responsibility, like whatever it is, the compassion helps you hold that healthy boundary. You're like, I see where you're coming from. I hear you. No, thank you. I do not need that. So kindness, yeah. For me, that's how I see the difference.
Gotcha.
Right? Kindness is thoughtfulness and an act of service, whereas compassion is almost like a state of being and a space holding kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also having a nice, healthy boundary, Yeah, and knowing who you are and just not letting it bother you, not taking it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it kind of sounds like kindness is something that we can be more discerning on who, or boundaried with who we share our kindness with, but compassion is something that is more universally radiated.
Yes.
Okay.
Like our friends, our family, our close loved ones, our community, the ones that we can share and be vulnerable with our kindness and all of that. And it's balanced, right? I'm kind. I have this thing. I thought of you. I sent you a book or bowls of garlic. Thank you so much, Polly. And
was just
however,
thinking about
it. However, your kindness likes to show up. Thank you. I would love to receive that. In turn, later on, I was thinking of you. Here's a new journal. Here's this book I read that I also think you would really like, So it's like, it's a mutually beneficial, back and forth, balanced kind of relationship. These are the healthy relationships, the ones that fuel us, that feel good, where there's room for everyone to be themselves, like this is really beautiful. And it's like for our close relationships. And then honestly, like also like in our periphery, like I'm kind to people in grocery stores. I'm smiling. I'm saying, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
How you doing today? Whatever. I just have this general air of kindness about me. But compassion comes up in like certain situations. It's like situational, but it is universally for everybody as well. Yeah.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. That feels right in my system.
Yeah. Can you think of any situations on how you have used self-compassion to help you on your healing journey? Like, where has it shown up for you?
Ooh. Like just any example?
Any example. This is just the question that came through.
I feel like it's the whole thing I've been doing.
The whole healing journey so far has been an experiment in self-compassion.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's really paradoxical because the whole reason I got into the healing journey and self-help and starting to look at my mental health and how my inner dialogue was talking to me was because my inner world was nasty towards me. It was the opposite of self-compassion. And it's just so funny how this works, because I kind of, in a way, I don't want to say like bullied myself into this healing work, but I kind of did, because one fragment of me was in so much pain and so much insecurity. I felt like I was not doing things correctly and I had very low self-esteem. That was painful enough that it like turned on itself and was like, okay, we need to fix this. And to have this magnet, this microscope on you of like you're a problem that needs to be fixed or solved is inherently not coming from a place of self-compassion. But it's also like the choice to move into love and try to learn how to hold space for yourself and grow self-compassion is also inherently such a loving and self-compassionate thing to choose. And so even on the days where I feel like my mind is so wrapped up in wanting to judge the choices that I'm making for myself, or wanting to get me down for like my appearance or like whatever it is that day, even on those days, it still feels like every aspect of my life is coming from a place of self-compassion, because it's just like my spirit is just so here for the ride. And the whole reason we're here, like darkness and all, is to self-discover, to understand the self. And I think to try to understand is to inherently hold compassion for. I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for, but that's what came through.
I feel like it was a very general, like everything. But what I also understand is like where I've seen you practice.
Do you want specifics?
If you're willing to share. Yeah. Where specifically, how have you worked on your own compassion for you? Because a lot of times it's a very conscious choice, right? It's one of the tools, right, for healing is to have compassion for the hurt version of you inside. Like the pieces, parts of you, the inner child, the inner teenager, all of those parts of you. When you learn how to listen to them, the body, the voice inside, the pain inside, being like, will you please look at this? I'm dying. And you finally look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I see that. Oh yeah, that's heavy. That's rough. And you practice that compassion for what that version of you went through. That's what I'm asking you. Where in your healing journey was that an active conscious choice to work on? And how did you do it?
I feel like there were a lot of points that have popped up. I have my specific modalities in my brain right now, so I'm just going to go to those. I think the main ways that I have practiced self-compassion firsthand, I oftentimes will do this practice when my mind acts up and it turns towards me, turns against me. And some of the main things that have found that have worked for me, it's kind of just a mix of either meditation, so that way I can cultivate some space between me and the harsh thoughts that are happening, to be able to disconnect from that and to align with the part of me that knows that I am not that, and that we can hold space for it. And the other main one I would say is journaling. Has been a huge one. And there have been a couple key points over the last few years since I've learned about this process. It's Teal Swan's fragmentation process, where whenever you have like an inner conflict going on inside of yourself, especially between two like different voices in your head, if you will, oftentimes I have this like managerial fragment that comes in that gets really heavy-handed and really judgmental towards other aspects and fragments of myself. So I notice that often my inner kid is kind of getting bullied by the managerial fragment. What's helped me in this particular dynamic is journaling out what each of these fragments is saying within me. So really tuning in to the energy of the manager and like letting her, him, I don't really know. It's, I don't know the pronouns for that particular fragment. Really embodying that and letting the manager say whatever is on its mind, essentially. Once it says everything that it needs to say, all of its concerns, all of its worries, like, if you don't do blank, this consequence is going to happen. And so that's why I'm being so hard on you right now, is because if we don't show up for this particular thing or in this way, bad things are going to happen. And so that's why I'm being so aggressive right now. But on the flip side of that, there's my inner child, or like my inner teen, which is going through, I feel like oftentimes it's a trauma that I had from a parental situation, the way that I was talked to, or, childhood stuff. Early wounding. That fragment of me also just really needs to be able to have the space to just say, I'm scared of doing this thing, or I feel so much resistance about it. And oftentimes I have found that when I let the inner child or the inner teen or whatever aspect of me, when I let them take the page and share what they need to share, it often just comes down to they're scared and they feel like they're not being loved or understood. So the fragmentation process is just tapping into the energies of whatever fragments are at conflict with each other and allowing them both to fully speak what they need to speak. And oftentimes when you just allow both of them to express themselves fully, that's when they can begin to see the other side and to come to a solution and a unity between each other. And that will often resolve a lot of the resistance or the inner conflict that I'm feeling. And it just kind of like releases. And I feel like I just have so much of a deeper understanding and a greater love for myself after I do that. So I would say that journaling process paired with meditation. Meditation is often more accessible. I will say this fragmentation process can take, many hours, and I'm sure I still have hundreds of processes to do for the fragments within me. So that one can be a little bit more intense and a little bit more require more energy.
Yeah, that particular process of the fragment that you're following with Teal Swan for sure. That's exactly what I heard. That's exactly what I wanted you to talk about.
Really?
I did.
Okay.
I'll ask the question and I'll already kind of know what you're gonna say.
Oh, that's so funny.
And that's what
I don't know what I'm gonna say. It just is spoken.
It's just one of the things. But those are the two things that I saw
Okay.
for you, which was journaling and meditation. And I think those are two really valid and useful tools to grow that part of you.
Mm-hmm.
But
getting it out of my head, I think, is the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when we were with our little Sunday group, I had a full breakdown just because my mind had been so mean to me for like the entire month, pretty much. And there was just a huge release happening. And one of the members of our group, shout out Karen.
Shout out Karen.
Sending her so much love right now. She ended up saying back to me after I released a lot of that it's a helpful process for me to just get that stuff out of my brain. Mm-hmm. Whether I'm writing, whether I'm telling a friend, or having a complete emotional breakdown in front of a small group of wonderful women. Just that process of getting it out of me is really key. And when my brain doesn't get in the way, when that fragment and my ego, doesn't get in the way of that process, I always feel better afterwards.
I particularly loved that share that you did that day. You were by far the most vulnerable and emotionally expressive than you've ever shown up in a group before. And I don't know if you were able to pay attention because you were so into it. But
I was so in it. I was shaking.
Yes.
My body was shaking.
And I guarantee you, all of us were smiling and so compassionate for you. We were all in compassion for what you were going through. I personally was delighted. Not that you were in so much pain, but because you showed up in that way, in that real, authentic way, and you spoke your truth and you cried in front of us, which doesn't often happen. You tend to try to suppress that part of you, but you just let it go. And I was just smiling and just the love in everyone's eyes because we've all been there, right? We have that. And so that you were allowing yourself to be that, we were just sidled up right next to you, like, preach, girl. Go ahead, get it out. Out, go ahead. This is great. I loved it. I thought it was such progress for you to show up in that way. And we met you with compassion while you were hurting.
Yeah.
And
kindness.
How does that feel? How did that feel? Like when you were done and you're like, I can't believe all that kind of came out. But what was the result for you being in that space of where we were just holding that beautiful, loving space for you?
I mainly remember being, not like it was whiplash, but it was just so funny how it was such a heavy release. And it just like immediately opened space in a way for like just lightness. Maybe that was partially due to your guys' compassion and the space that you were holding for me and the love that you were feeding into me. I just remember like going back and forth between needing to bawl my eyes out and just laughing so fucking hard. But to receive that level of compassion, I actually don't know that I've ever cried that hard in front of a group of people outside of maybe to like my parents and my sister and my grandma when we've had family members pass. Like I really have never displayed that level of emotion and vulnerability in front of people, let alone a group of people. So it felt scary, but I also couldn't control it. And so, I don't know, maybe that's where the giddiness came from. It's just like, oh my God, it feels so good to like really be seen in this way. And for all of my emotions to be allowed and to be honored and to know that all of you were just holding a space of so much love. And it's like, it's okay. Like you can do this. You can be here and you can show up fully yourself, like darkness and judgment and what my mind wants to call ugliness. Just all of it. It's just relieving.
That was definitely evident watching you. It was quite the thing to behold. And there was a bit of like an up and down, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I'm good. And then all of a sudden the tears showed up again. You're like, what the fuck?
And somebody else was talking like shortly after. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm bawling my eyes out all of a sudden again. I'll be back in like 20 minutes. Like I'm here. I'm listening. I'm loving what you guys are saying. But holy shit, I am crying. It's wild.
But it's so remarkable the relief that you feel when it's over.
Yeah.
Like when you've like purged it out and you released it. And that's the space. That's what you're creating is you're releasing the pain and the emotion and all of that. And then you get to invite in the love and the light. And that's the giddiness, you know, especially with the connection. There was so much happening that day, you know, like there was lots of stuff with like healing and everything. But quite lovely.
Yeah.
I love support groups.
They're pretty great. I think something else, the other thing that I received from that, as I'm tapping more into that energy that you guys held for me, I remember afterwards, it's like in those moments when you're completely vulnerable and breaking down and you have people around you that are so loving and so accepting of what you're going through and just who you are in that moment. It's like there's just like a tank, like a love tank in my heart that's getting filled. And that is inspiring me to go pour out love to the rest of the world. Like it just fueled me up in such a way where I'm like, oh, like this is the work. this is what we can offer to other people, is that space and that compassion. And it just inspired me to just keep fucking going and to share that amount of love with myself as often as I can. But I just lights a fire in me every single time that I get to receive it, because I'm like, this feels so good. I just want to go give this to all the people that I can in return for having received it and never felt it. It's beautiful.
I love that you brought it up, because that was one of the things that I love about it. And why self-care is really important, and why having a community to heal with is really important. Because the self-care, you're like recharging yourself. You're dipping into your resource to heaven and earth, or wherever your connections are, and you're filling that yourself, right? And then with support groups or your community or your close friends you can process and talk things out with, you get to be in a space where they hold that for you, and then they're helping to replenish. And then as we learn it ourselves through our own self-care practice and healing ourselves, because it's part of the medicine and the tools, as we hold that and grow that for ourselves, we inherently then just naturally hold that space for others. And you said something else that made me think of this part of the you're talking about how your mind has been a bully, like who's been very unkind. And I think most of us have this. I know I do. I have quite the harsh taskmaster. And I remember Karen working with Polly one time and mentioning, do you treat other people like this? How you treat yourself in your own mind?
Oh my God, would never.
Right?
Could never imagine.
Can you imagine talking to a child the way that you talk to yourself? Why are you doing that? Why are you harming yourself like that? Why are you treating yourself so deplorably when you are not that? You are so kind and loving and caring. And then we have to learn how to bring that back into ourselves. But through conditioning and the thoughts that we're raised around, and it just sort of seeps into the subconscious, and it just comes up at really crappy moments, so you're right, that's part of the work, is learning how to love yourself, learning how to take care of yourself from a compassionate standpoint, so that you treat yourself just as good as you treat others. You deserve your love just as much as giving it to others. People say, oh, you can't really love somebody until you love yourself. I do call bullshit on that.
That's
because
horrible,
I was really good at loving
advice.
people before I loved myself. But I'll tell you what, it makes you a better lover. If you can love yourself more, you have more love to give. The more you love yourself, self-care, take care of you and your needs and show up for you, you're filling that tank, that reservoir of love. So the more, because most of the time, how many of us who are in survival mode are running on fumes, right? So the more love I have for myself, the more I can fill my own tank, the more I have to dole out and share.
Yeah.
Until I'm like, oh, I'm running low. Let me just take care of myself again, or reach out for help or whatever. I'm not saying like, it grows. Just like as you increase your frequency, the space you can hold can grow. So yeah, the more compassion that you do hold for yourself, the easier it becomes to hold it for other people as well. Or the more compassion you grow for other people, you can then learn to bring around to you, so you can receive some of the juicy loveliness.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess my initial response to that is, the more that you love yourself, the more that you can love other people. I do agree with everything that you said, by the way. But some new ideas that have been in my sphere online has been kind of debunking that a little bit, or at least this idea that we aren't deserving of love until we love ourselves. I feel like there's kind of there's been a tinge in that a lot of us, at least myself, that's kind of, it's like that paradoxical thing where we have so much love to give that we've given to other people and we haven't given it to ourselves. So to hear you can't love people until you love yourself feels like just another hit to you.
Right. Like
because
you're
you don't
not capable.
have access to loving yourself. So now you can't love other people. But we all have this love tank if you will. And a lot of us love to love other people, even on the days where we're harder on ourselves, like that, like you said, it's a lot easier to love other people, and a lot of other people can love us even when we don't, quote unquote, love ourselves. So I agree with everything you said, and I think that's definitely super true. But it's just been interesting looking at how I feel like the mainstream has kind of taken that concept, and because of that unconsciousness around like that paradox of self-compassion. I'm losing words for this. It's turning into like this big esoteric jumbled mess in my brain, and I'm losing words. So I'm going to stop there, but I hope that kind of how I just framed it makes a little bit of sense.
I understand where you're coming from.
Cool.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there might have been a little like miscommunication. I thought I said, the more you love yourself, the more love you have to give. Not that you can love people more, right? It was more like, my tank is full. I have excess. I have abundance, like that. Cause that's kind of like my intention is like, when you allow yourself to receive so much abundance, you can share that abundance without losing anything because it's just overflowing.
Right.
Right. So it becomes more easily accessible to just emanate and be that loving force in life. But that does require the alone time and the recharging and the resourcing and the introspection and like that kind of stuff so that you are, you're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it was your wording specifically. Okay. I think it's just because I've been kind of looking at that, like just overall idea in the mainstream. It sounded close enough that my brain really wanted to jump on like look, I've been learning about this like other aspect of it that I didn't see until now. So I got excited and I jumped on that. Yeah. So
no, I get that. Good. Sometimes I just get in my head sometimes where I'm just like, did I say that right? What did I say? I don't remember what I said, because sometimes I just don't remember the thing exactly how I said it.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I was also communicating my thoughts clearly. But yeah. I'm looking back at the healing journey. It's interesting. And just this season so far and the topics that we've covered and how they're so intertwined and they're so multi-layered, and it's not all of them all the time. Like the healing journey is bits and pieces. You pick it up, you put it down, you try this tool, you you see how that works. A lot of experimentation. Like it's all of it, but pieces, in your own time, and growing that metaphysical muscle and all these different coping tools and states of being and, healing processes. And so the thing that keeps you going, because there's so often on this path, heartache and suffering and fear that we have to go through in order to release it. Because the only way to get it out is to go through, and that's scary and uncomfortable and terrifying and painful. And why would anybody in their right mind do that? And so in order to get through it, kindness for yourself, acts of kindness for yourself in the ways of self-care or treating or baths or whatever makes you feel better, and the self-compassion for that piece of you that's going through it. These are the things that help you get through, right? Mm-hmm. So when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and be in this state of like, oh my God, I'm just so in it. Like I'm not looking at it. I'm like way all the way in it. when you allow somebody to sit next to you that has no need for you to shift or change because it's not theirs. They're just there to hold a light or to give you company, to share their compassion, right? Because they're sharing their compassion for you.
Mm-hmm.
You get to absorb some of that, and then that helps you shift. It helps you release. It helps you see yourself in a new way,
Mm.
and love yourself in a very real way. That benefits greatly. So it's on the other side of that process when you're done crying and you're like, okay, now I think that tank is empty. I think I have no more tears left. Like, hold on, let me look.
Gotta
Nope.
check the tear tank.
Yeah. I'm like, I think I'm good. And then there you are back at peace. There's more room. There's more space for you. There's comfort. And sometimes you get a little giddy. Sometimes you're like, I think I need a nap.
Oh, after crying naps are some of the best things. I love them so much. I never sleep harder than after a real good cry.
Post-emotional snap.
What's been your favorite tool of self-compassion that you like to utilize for yourself?
Probably the oldest one, which has been journaling. Journaling for me is one of the earliest coping tools I started as a teenager. I didn't know that's actually what I was doing, but it became the safe place for me to have all of my feelings, all of those ugly parts of me that had no room to express in my physical life. So I got to put it all down, to get it all out. And that was always what I was intending on. Like, I'm like, okay, it doesn't need to live up in here in my head anymore. It's just getting in my way. Let me just get this out in a safe way where I won't hurt anybody with my truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it became a way for me to do that. And it sort of naturally started to happen. Like, because I started like free writing. I started asking questions and then answers would come. And I would hear like the quiet voice say this, and I'd write down what the quiet voice was saying. And I feel like that was spirit working through me to help me grow my compassion for myself. So I naturally started to say those things to the hurt pieces of me where I'm like, oh, I know that really sucked. I'm so sorry. And that's been consistent. So yeah, I think journaling has been the easiest way for me to do that because it doesn't. Yeah, there was always a war. I remember, God, I've written so many things in my journals over the years about like there's an internal war in my head. There are these two voices that are duking it out. There's the angry, mean one who wants to burn everything down. And then there's like the kind one who's like, yeah, I know, but they were really hurting. And, this was really hard, who just wants to help heal everything and make everything better. And so my writing is where I get a lot of my growth for my compassion because I can see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because thinking about it doesn't help. Thinking about it just is like the hamster on the wheel. Is going and going and going and going and going. It's not going anywhere. The writing is getting it off the wheel and it's getting out and it's giving it an exit. And then when it's out and you can go back and read it, you're like, oh, wow, look at that. Look at that truth. Look at those feelings.
It's a tangible way to actually sort through the random cloud of so much that gets caught up in our heads. Yeah. Can see it in an actual tangible way. What's going on.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Freaking love journaling. It's so good. It's so helpful.
Meditation brought it to a new level, though.
Yeah.
I have to say, that was like upgrading.
Because you like journaling after meditation, right?
I've been actually recently playing with it.
Okay.
But yes, I think I do. Because when I start journaling and I get into like a different headspace and like productive, like, let's look at this, let's do this thing. And then all of a sudden I'm working on other projects and not meditating. So it's like I have to do the thing that's hardest for me to do, which is sit down and go inside myself, and take that time. Plus, I also feel like it's more beneficial for me personally to meditate first because it gives me more clarity and a higher frequency, because I do this whole thing with my system where I ground myself and then I clear myself and then I can. So it's sort of like, what is that? Snaking the drain, if you will. Right.
Mhm.
And then like cleaning up the filters so that when I'm journaling, it feels more, I don't know if balanced is the right word. Less exaggerative.
More focused?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe more. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, more focused. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's so funny just because I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I like to use journaling as a way to get out everything that's in my head. And the meditation for me, if and when I do it after a journaling session, that feels like the repair and the focus for me, where I can kind of like bring things into alignment and I can kind of ground whatever was released in the journal, and just feels like putting the bow on a wrapped present.
Nice.
Kind of
I can
thing for me.
totally see that for you and for that particular process.
Yeah.
But I think because my practice has been more channeling and channeling my spirit,
Right.
I need to quiet my system down so I can hear it.
Yeah. We use journaling as like as different tools.
It is.
But it's the same.
It is.
Same
It's-
tool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's just how you play with it. And that's what I love about the healing journey is it is 100% your experimentation.
journaling is kind of like the Swiss Army knife.
There's so much you could do.
Yeah.
There's
It's
free
the-
writing. There's exercises. There's so much you can do when it comes to journaling.
It's the Leatherman of the healing journey.
It's so true. Yes.
I have another question, but I'm just holding space to see if you're about to bring something up.
Nope, I was listening.
Okay.
I love that you have a question. Go for it.
So I kind of want to turn this conversation over to service for other. Now that we've kind of talked about using compassion and kindness towards ourselves and the importance of that, so we do have more access to bring that to other people on a more regular basis. How do you think we can collectively and, well, individually and collectively use our kindness and our ability to be compassionate, and how can we bring that into the physical to really be of service to others around us?
I love that you asked that question because I heard it like earlier in the beginning of the episode, and I'm so glad that you brought it up because I did want to talk about this.
Nice.
So
I
great.
feel like I feel so open
Uh-huh.
in this whole conversation on a level that I feel like I haven't quite tapped into yet, which I love that this is happening on the final episode of the first season.
Your channel is really, really opening because mine's being super quiet. And I'm like, why are you being so quiet? And they're like, shh,
That's fascinating.
let Maggie.
I just feel like we're just like this like revolving like recycling energy system happening right now, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
cool.
good. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. So how I see this as a service to others is just like with our holding space and being neutral. The compassion is the act, like the state of being when you're in that neutral holding space where you can see what's happening, where you can read the energy around you, where you can recognize if somebody is in a state or they're triggered or they're going through something. So often people want to get really defensive and aggressive to keep them away because I can't protect myself. I don't have any tools and everything. But what I've observed is by me just being me, where I choose to hold myself and to show up in this very compassionate, loving way, it has the potential to diffuse situations. Like if you can, if teachers, or caretakers in general, if kids are fighting and you can hold a space for them and teach them, everybody has a turn to talk about their perspective and like what happened. And then you can relate and be compassionate to both of them, and you can help them see their responsibility and like what was really going on for them. Like when somebody gets really upset with you and like wants to cut in front of you in this shopping market, or like cuts in front of you for something, and they want to beef or something, and it's just like, it's okay. Sometimes they'll recognize, dude, I'm sorry, I was being a dick. I'm sorry. Like, if you can hold that space, oftentimes people can see how they came off. And that's not really in alignment with who they are.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of gives them the space to see themselves. Because, like, if you can just not react, right? If you sort of like let the fart hang in the air, let them smell their own stink. Like, do you know what you just gave off there? I mean, I get it. You probably ate some beans earlier or some, Brussels sprouts that got you a little gassy, but you don't got to crop dust my space with your funk. This is a really weird analogy, but come with me. Go with it. But the compassion can help diffuse situations. It can help people let down their guard and be human again. Because sometimes we get stuck in this primal go out and get it. That's the ego, the survivor, the hunter. You know what I mean? Like, get them before they get me,
Right.
And I think the compassion can help to soften people so that they can practice being vulnerable, so they can practice feeling safe and supported. But that can also be really scary. You have an old dog that's like a street dog that's been abused and harmed. It's going to want to bite even the nicest of people. But those animals need some space and need some time and need some gentle reminders and some of that compassion so that they can learn to trust again. So compassion can help build trust between people, trust in themselves that they can be safe and have boundaries, trust in others that they can help meet their needs and be supported. So for me, it's just a healing balm, that you can share with others the more you make in you. It's like, oh, you want some medicine? Here you go. But if they're not respectful, that shows a lack of openness. And it's those people where you're compassionate, be like, you don't want what I have. That's okay. I respect your boundary, but I'm going to remove myself from this situation because I am not interested in being harmed by this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have self-compassion for yourself. Or you have that compassion for yourself so that you can then remove yourself from harmful situations, from people who are unconscious, people who are just being a rabid animal and just in their emotions or in their illness, or in their addiction or whatever dark place they're in. So you can hold it for others as medicine, but if they're not going to respect it and be able to receive it, then you can respectfully decline and withdraw and take yourself out.
Yeah. Actually, as you say that, I got a kind of like a vision recently of a visual representation of a dynamic that I have with someone in my life right now. And the visual representation is we're in this like dark void, this completely black void. And it's almost like a room. They're over kind of in the middle of the darkness, and they have their little space, their setup, but they're completely into the darkness. But I'm by this door, this floating door, and I just have the door cracked open a little bit. And the light from the hallway is spilling out ever so slightly, just as this soft invitation that's always there. I have boundaried myself quite a bit from this person for a little while, as I've needed to, out of self-compassion. But that little sliver of light and that invitation and that space of compassion is always there in that dark void. And I just saw that again as you were saying that. So
I think it's a really respectful way to go about it, especially on the healing journey. As you heal and grow, you're going to be shifting in a way that you won't be able to receive harm or abuse anymore, because you're going to have these healthier boundaries and be like, no, because if you're going to treat me like that, I'm going to do this. Right? So it's still nice, especially for those like old relationships that you've had for a long, long time, and there's a lot of connection and, history. It is nice to leave the door open. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to live there with them, but you don't have to do all of the work to hold and carry that relationship. But the door being cracked If they're ready to go through it and meet you, at least at the edge, be like, hey, you want to come over? Sure, I'll have a little bit of time. Like if there's like the genuine inquiry and there's respect around everything, I like that. I like that a lot. We don't always have to be so harsh and permanent when it comes to pruning our environment or the people in our circle and everything. Sometimes you build your half of the bridge, like if your relationship broke, right? The tower fell, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your responsibility to build the whole bridge and to fix the whole relationship. But if you want to build your half of the bridge and remain open, if they want to meet you, great. If not, that's okay too, because you have that compassion. You have compassion for where they are. Like, I get it. You're in the dark. You're in pain. I'm sorry that I can't do the work for you, but I'm not responsible. I have my own stuff. But if you want to work on it together, like, come anyway. So, yeah, I like that. It's a good state to be open. But sometimes it is also required to close a door on certain harmful, really bad relationships. It is okay to close that door. For some reason, I feel like saying that to some people because
sometimes that's needed.
It is, because sometimes like the codependent will always like want to help and do things, and so, but
Right.
sometimes in some particular situations where no contact is required, it's okay to shut a door. It's okay not to give and to cut yourself off, because that is your right to take care of you.
Yeah.
So.
But in my particular case, I've considered shutting the door, but there's always something that leaves me keeping the hallway light on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have real compassion for that person because you can see them. Oh, good. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks for clarifying. Or, I don't know. You just wrapped that up nicely in a neat little bow. Explained it well with your words.
Well, thank you. I actually think we covered all of the things that were coming through earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think we actually touched on all of them.
Cool.
So I think that was really nice. And this isn't going to be the last time we're going to be talking about this either, because this is a pretty big tool.
Yeah.
It's a really big tool to use, kindness and compassion, to help you relate to others, to help you heal yourself. It's a goal of mine to help spread more kindness. I think we as humans can really benefit from it. And I think that's the point. That's the gift. Kindness is a gift. And for anything like that to be taken advantage of or weaponized or, all of that is not my ideal. So I'm not going to judge people for doing it, because survival is a thing, and I get why people do it. But I choose to surround myself with people that can give and receive. People that can see me and appreciate me and have see the value, and then also share the same thing with me. Very respectful, balanced, healthy relationships with good communication.
As you should.
Yeah.
I think we all deserve that.
Yeah.
A balanced.
Because I am such a kind, loving person that I want that back as well. Because it feels good. You give what you get. And so sometimes you have to work on your beliefs to make sure that you can actually receive the kindness. Because we get conditioned to give. And to be a better giver, I recommend becoming a really good receiver. That was a hard lesson for me as a healer, because that was my program to give. That's where I got my value. That's where people liked me the most.
You got your needs met.
Yeah. Some of them, not all of them.
Fair.
But that was a lesson I've had to learn over and over. How to get shingles. That was a hard time. I'm like 33. I got shingles. Josh took care of me. It was terrible. I couldn't walk. My eye was closed, swollen closed, so much pain.
That you physically could not
do anything for an entire week. I had to be taken care of, and that was so hard. And I had one of my mentors, or a spirit, somebody I was talking to, helped explain it to me that if you can practice receiving, you actually become a better giver because you know what it feels like on the other end of what you're doing. And so you know how good it feels to be supported and to be loved, and you can appreciate it more. So, and also, how dare you not let the person who's trying to give to you? You know, how would you feel if someone's like, you're trying to give to them and be like, I want to do this thing for you. And they're like, no, forget it. But you're like, but I want to do it. I want to love you and give to you. And
Robbing someone of the joy
yes,
of that
exactly.
experience of giving.
Yes.
That's exactly how it felt when in the group meeting when I broke down. That's exactly it. It's got the chance to actually receive, and that just filled me so much to just want to go and give that back.
Which is why I was so proud of you that day, because I know that's been a challenge to receive the support, to allow that space to be just for you.
Yeah, learning to receive is, yeah.
But man, does it
journey.
feel good. It feels so good to be loved and supported and cared for and be seen. Like, so much healing happens just from being seen. Oh, it's so magical.
And allowing yourself to be in a state of receptivity and to be seen and to be heard is inherently an act of self-compassion.
Yes.
Which is why it feels so hard sometimes.
Yeah. It's a good skill to learn, though. It's a good one to work out. So, and I think we're always met with those opportunities to practice. And it's always a give and take. It's a back and forth. You know, they all balance. Like, I might have big needs and big emotions today, and I need this space. But then I know, and I'll give it to you when it's your turn. Like, when you're going through something, you're like, oh my God, I actually have so much space today. I can handle this, please. I have space. Lay it on me. Or not on me, but next to me so I can look at it with you. Because I won't take that because it's not mine. But I'll look at it, you know? And so it really does. It goes back and forth. And having the faith and trust that these healthy relationships that you're building with these really good, healthy boundaries and self-care will be balanced. Everybody has their time. Everybody has their need. Everybody can give, you know.
Finding that balance in all relationships that we have with people, with the planet, with everything and everyone here is just like such a beautiful thing to try to fine tune and experience. And when you find those people that it's just so effortlessly balanced. Funny that I just tripped up on the word effortlessly. But when you find those people that it feels like an effortless and infinite natural balance and just this beautiful flow of give and receive between us and each other, and it's just A1, bro. For lack of a better, more heartfelt word, it's A1 sauce. It's incredible. And I love it. And it makes me so happy. And it just makes me want to continue to deepen my love tank and my own self-compassion and my own kindness towards myself, so I can just keep showing up and being that gift for as many people as I can, and to be of service in this way. Because kindness and compassion to me feels like how you feel about holding space. Kindness and compassion to me, like in this life, in this body, it lights me up so much. Just to think about how I can continue to grow in this life, and to think about how I can keep moving into a space deeper and deeper into my heart and truer into my soul. There's so much love there, and I just can't wait to see how much love I can bring into the world tomorrow and how much world I can bring in, how much love I can bring into the world 5 years from now. And oh my God, 20, 30 years from now.
And all the people that you'll have touched and taught in that time.
This truly lights me up like nothing else. And this is what I am most what I'm most passionate about. in this lifetime. And I just want to bring this semblance of love and compassion and understanding into every facet of life on this planet. Political conversation, healing conversations, you name it, just anything, everyone, every topic. I just want to bring in a space of love to all of it. Because we have a really, really beautiful thing here on this planet. I know there's
so much gorgeous scenery and life and energy.
And things that we as humans, even though so many of us are aware of the atrocities happening and the tragedies that occur every day and how nasty we can get, but there's so much love here. And there really is so much kindness and compassion. Just even sharing a smile with somebody as you're walking down the street, just something as small as that. There's like really nothing like it to just share that small moment. And I feel like that's why I just keep coming back here. Like there's something so special about humans. And even when we're not at our best, the beautiful moments that we do have, and when we are capable of going in a little bit deeper and operating more from a space of love and tapping into our heart versus our ego and our programs, that just makes it all worth it. And I just have so much hope and so much faith and love for humanity and what we can bring about on this planet in this lifetime with more of us just doing the work and practicing compassion every day for everything.
It's been shown that a moment of kindness or compassion in a day can change the whole day for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can change someone's whole day by smiling. I've had people say, like, I was having a terrible day, and then you smiled at me, and I just feel so much better, and we have a little conversation, and I bless them along their way, and they just walk away happy. Just being that force of love and that light. And the more that we're grounded and secure in our isness and knowing who we are, people could try to blow on us all day and it's not going to put out our light. You'd be like, oh, you're going to get yourself winded, But they're just afraid, and they don't want other people to shine when they're so dark. Just something that happens, because that happens too. Like when you are beginning to like feel better, there's going to be some people who want to yuck your yum, but just because they're having a particular way, and you don't have to let that affect you, because you can hold boundaries, you can hold your space. That's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're wrapping up this final episode
Mm-hmm.
of our first season, the whole healing path and this healing journey is not an easy one. It is wrought with pain and suffering that we must relive and transmute for ourselves so that we can feel better, so that we can unburden ourselves from the past, from our past, from generational trauma, from all of that, so that we can create more space for the love and the light and the creative expression and the connection. And I feel like this is the point. This is the purpose of my life, is to learn how to heal, how to feel better, how to live in joy through my heart, and unashamedly be myself. And I love the support that I've had over the years on this, and that now I get to share with others and hold space for them so that they can practice all of these tools that we've talked about this season so far. And I'm really looking forward to next season when we return, when we dive into some of more of like the nitty gritty specific like coping tools, positive coping tools, the negative coping tools, the different therapies that are out there, and like looking at some of these modalities and things to explore and see if it resonates with you. But these are all things that we can be doing for ourselves. And then ultimately, we get to hold that space for others. And it's just the gift that keeps on giving so that we can feel better, so that others can feel better. And this is it. But it's hard and it sucks sometimes. And I get it. So community, coping tools, self-care. Listen to the rest of the season if you haven't so far.
Yeah, it does really feel like this big, beautiful culmination of so many foundational tools that you've really been helping me learn, and you've taught these foundational tools to me, and it's just so incredible to be able to reflect on them and how they've served me in my life, and being able to reflect on that through this podcast and having these conversations with you has just been such a really beautiful experience. And I sincerely hope that those who can benefit and will benefit from hearing about these tools as well will find this podcast and this first season and all 13 episodes when they need it. Mm-hmm. I just have so much gratitude for this whole experience, and even the flow that you and I, Nikki specifically, have felt with navigating creating this podcast. From the recording time that we set aside a certain amount of time to just like sit down and record, and then taking a little break, and then returning in the editing process to reflecting on these topics and refining our conversations, and just how each week's topic for us has shown up in our lives now.
It always
months
came full
after
circle.
we recorded the episode. Yeah.
We were going through it when we recorded it. And then during the editing process, we got to look at it again, and it was relevant for us. It was very synchronistic, wasn't it?
There are so many synchronicities that have popped up through the creation of this podcast and learning our working systems and the flow of creating this whole thing. But it's all just felt so divinely guided and so beautiful to get to experience. And if this is the last or the only episode that anybody listens to, you should go start your own podcast.
Or whatever creative project you are drawn to.
Yeah. That came out a little flatter than how it felt in my head. But yeah, just creating space for you to express whatever your spirit is trying to express, and just whatever joy and passion that gets sparked within you. I hope you take my words as a permission slip to go and do that for yourself, and allow your spirit to shine and to share that with those around you. Because this is what changes the planet.
Because we become the change we want to see. We show up for ourselves. We follow our creativity and our vision and our dream. If we can't do it on our own, then we find some mates. Find some pals to do it with. A nice support group. Another friend. So go us for doing this thing, Maggie.
Yes.
Go us. We moved beyond our mind. We went through all the different things that we wanted to talk about as we had this intention of normalizing the healing journey. And I think we did this just for our own benefit and growth, with hopes of being of service to others when they need it. And so I'm quite proud of us for doing this.
Me too.
We got to practice speaking our truth and talking about these things that light us up, that we're passionate about. Yep. So, yay. Thank you to all of our listeners out there who have been along for the ride, or are new to us, or wherever you are in the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikki. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in and listened and stuck around for either one episode or one season, or if we do however many more seasons. But thank you. This has been an incredible honor, and I can't wait for season 2.